Good afternoon and good evening to all you free Enterprise fans out there. Welcome to today's elimination match between CrimsonAvix and keddril. I am Zyrak and I'm joined in the booth today by Twisted Flax. How you doing?
Not too bad, Zyrak. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well here. We got ourselves a elimination match. The loser of this match is playing their next one next week for Pride only. The winner gives themselves the opportunity to move on to table flags, the playoff format for this year's tournament.
That's right. You need to be 2-1 to qualify for that second play into the bracket phases, the round of 32. So both these players need to win both the next two matches starting tonight.
And we have got an interesting set of objectives up here. The Baron key will be key. Taking a quick look here, unlocking both the second and third objectives for our seed today. A nice spicy complete the Giant of Babil as well for the last one.
It does offer a very interesting option for that, assumedly third out of the four objectives that our runners will need to complete. Whether to dive deep and try to find both pieces of the Excalibur to forge it with Kokol, or to just go ahead and take out those two potentially nasty bosses of the Giant of Babel.
Yeah, this could be a very, very interesting seed if Tella decides to show up relatively early here. It gives you incentive to potentially get that early D-machine grind on when you know you have to take the Giant of Babil out already. Could lead to some interesting choices, interesting divergence. If you can manage to get through the seed and put it off for later and do your grind on 10 key items, you can do it way faster than your opponent can do it. Well, I guess about twice as fast, I guess. And that could wind up being the difference in the seed, or getting those early levels, getting that power online earlier could be the thing that gets you through the roadblocks faster than your opponent. So lots of different ways that this could go down.
And it looks like we'll be starting with everybody's favorite bard, Edward. If we find an early spoon, we can definitely get some power out of him. Otherwise, since we do have those free characters available, we might not spend too much time with him in our party.
Yeah, Edward is one of those characters with he's got a bunch of fights in the pool that he's very helpful in. He can be a linchpin, quite frankly, but he doesn't bring in a lot of overall power to you otherwise.
The Rose, on the other hand, you always like to see that premier white mage. Sorry to the Porum fans out there.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Porum apologist myself. This is the white mage you want. It's just a nice safety blanket. You know you got the HP there. You know that you're ready to go. It's very hard, as long as you have levels, it's very hard to lose a Zeroma's fight with the Rosa. So it's just a really nice safety blanket.
We're given a tower key to start off with, not necessarily key we want to see, but it does mean we don't have to worry about weighing whether or not to complete the keyless tower at some point in this seed.
Yeah, and I think for me, if I was running this one, I would want to be taking a look at the character spots. I would want to know if that Tella is around for sure. It would be the first thing I would want in terms of being able to try and get my long-term plan for what the seed is going to throw at me. So we'll see if the runners feel that way.
Ooh, we've got an Armus bow waiting for us in the waterway here, while in the Baron Inn we see a Dark Knight Cecil waiting for us.
And we got a Quake Kid sitting in the waterway. So Palom learns Quake at level 23, Virus a couple levels before that, learns Ice 2 after basically beating just about any boss spot. He'll get enough experience for that. He's fantastic, great early power, which is what this team is kind of missing right now. Exactly what you want to find, as well as giving you access to warp for your Dwarf Castle shenanigans.
True, but he learns that warp at level 29, I believe, which is a little bit later than other characters. So you will have to do maybe a little more grinding than you would expect before you can do that Dwarf Castle. Unless, of course, we do find a Tella.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna take a look at Damson. Gonna take a loot the treasury. And keddril is heading over to Troya. Gonna take a look at the 8 or 9 chests that are available here. It's the play that I know keddril likes to make. It also gives you the 2 shop checks in Troya as opposed to 1 in most of the other towns.
It's an interesting move because I know most runners do like to combine that with the treasury if they ever do find the Earth Crystal, but you can find some very good equipment here for your early run.
Yeah, keddril likes this play. It gives them that nice early infusion of cash and then the 2 stores to look at. It's definitely got its merits for sure, but it does wind up being a little bit of a feels bad if you just kind of pull the Earth Crystal out of Antlion or whatever. Then you're coming here twice.
Sid is our character waiting for us at the top of Dancium. Our party is filling out pretty nicely. That's a character who can do some decent damage as well as perform the very important duty of being a good anchor if you can find a curse ring or other agility lowering equipment.
Yeah, we do have a Cecil sitting around, so that's another potential anchor situation. It's nice having the potential Cecil available as well, just because of the pure power in his holy weapons, if we can manage to come across one somewhere. So that's another thing that each of our runners could choose to do potentially differently from each other that could make a big difference in how the seed plays out.
That is one of the things I have certainly noticed as I've watched plenty of runners run this flag set, is what you do with Cecil. Some people still love to take him regardless. Some people just seem to never want to take him. And others, it depends. Do you find good equipment for him? Do you find 2 Cecils so you can keep one as a low-level anchor and let the other one gain levels? It really has shown a lot of different strategies in this tournament.
So I got both runners are checking some shops here, checking out the weapon and armor shops as well, which with a party that's not particularly dependent on weapons right now, with the Quake Kid being your main source of damage, is a little bit interesting. But who knows if that key weapon, if you see that key weapon like that longsword for an edge, if he shows up, or if you come across a curse ring somewhere, then those could be important bits of knowledge for later.
If it were me playing the seed, I would be looking for some decent arrows, since you do have that Artemis bow from the Waterway, and you do have a Sid available. That's a very good early game powerhouse combination.
Yeah, that is a fair point. That I have not noticed any good arrows coming out to go to pair with this Artemis bow yet. So yeah, mute or charm arrows I think are both potentially available. Either of those are great for overall power, and of course have really nice racial bonuses that you can take advantage of as well if the right boss fights show up.
Looks like we have Crimson heading over to the city to check the 2 characters here, while Keddril's going to go into the Damcian treasury.
Take a look to see vampires and star veils in the store. Probably not really a huge need for vampires anymore with the Quake Kid and the Artemis bow in tow. Then we'll take a look at what we get for characters here. And again, I think the spiciest thing to show up is Nutella. I think that's the thing that gives our runners the biggest decisions to make here early.
Except with that Triad of Babel on the table as an objective, that is certainly something I'm thinking wanting to do to try to get maybe an early grind on. Instead, we have a vanilla start, just move to a different location with Cecil and Kane available here.
Yeah, so that's interesting. This is an opportunity to potentially leave a Cecil aside for you for later, if you decided to reset out of this. But then you do give up on the Kane when you do that. It looks like Crim is going to officially dismiss the Cecil and take the Kane. As if you can get a decent weapon for Kane, he can carry the early game for you potentially. So let's see if you can find one somewhere.
And Crimson is going to take another check for a character here at Hobbs, it looks like, while Keddril is just going to go straight and dive through to the Antlion Cave.
Yep, gonna get this Poison Axe on the Sid. Poison Axe Sid should be enough to get you through basically the first few boss locations more or less on his own, and then you should be able to have more than enough experience on your Palom to take over from there.
Yes. And yes, with that Artemis bow on Rosa, that makes a whole lot more sense as well, with the aim function.
That's right. If you didn't know, if you're intent on using aim Rosa, don't leave her in the center. The accuracy bonus that comes from the center slot can actually cause your aim to overflow and miss, which I've learned the hard way the first time I heard about that, so don't do that.
Always good to remember. When you use aim and all of a sudden misses, you're thinking, I can't believe it did that. I'm sorry, continue.
No, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I thought this thing had perfect accuracy. You could hit a hiding Edward with it. What just happened? And then, yeah, someone in the Discord's just like casually, was she in the center slot? Oh, yeah. Whoops.
Not too much exciting here in the Alkaline Cave. Seems like someone's already been here through here, but we did find a Dwarf Axe, which is a great item, especially if you did have that cane, because I think that's the only item, barring sneak shenanigans, that will allow Kane to work from the back row.
That's right, yeah. It's a really, really nice find with the cane in particular. It has the potential to increase your DPS output by quite a large amount, because otherwise, if you need to hit something like, let's say, a CPU in a back row, you're jumping otherwise, whereas you can just go ahead, if you have Berserker, hold your A button down or whatnot, you can just use your regular fight attacks. And we have Vanilla Antlion.
Is this even randomized? I am contractually obligated to say.
I didn't see Dathis in the booth, but maybe he forgot to clean up before he left here last time. We got a little bit of vanilla hanging around.
Another really nice item to pick up here is Cursed Ring. That's something you always want to have, if not only for the fight with Aromas, but just to get through some of those later really fast boss spots. So it's nice to have that, and that's a little bit of load off your mind, finding it early.
Yeah, it absolutely is. That's an excellent way to put it. It's just that something sort of similar to having the Rosa on your team already. It's just that nice safety blanket. Like, okay, if I get a Wyvern in a tough spot, like I'm physically capable of dealing with it. It's very nice.
And the vanilla keeps on coming. That's a Sand Ruby.
I mean, are we going to get the trifecta? Is there going to be a Rosa in the bed and Kaipo? I mean, it has to. I mean, come on, it has to happen now. Like, let's deliver, please.
You've got the two setups. You have to get the punchline after all.
Second Rosa is basically almost always helpful. It's another source of Berserk. Bacchus wines are not guaranteed to be in shops, or they could very well wind up being in, like, let's say, the Evelyn shop in a seat where you don't come across the hook. So if you're going to have a physical heavy team, having more than one source of Berserk is always helpful, as well as the other really, really helpful white magic spell, which is Blink, and being able to have two people to be able to cast that is a huge benefit for you as well.
That is completely true, 100%. It looks like both of our runners are going to head over to Kaipo, do a little more shopping, and see who is indeed taking a nap in the bed.
Yeah, we'll have to. I mean, Rosa would be great. We still want that early Tella. We still want to set this just another Dark Knight. Boo.
Well, we have two Cecils. Do you want a third Cecil?
But what about third Cecil?
Life potions and Cure 2 potions here in Kaipo. Both those are very nice to find early on to help act as your healer as you continue to level up. And also with the life glitch available, you want to get a good number of life potions.
Why does no one like Cecil? Well, everybody likes Cecil. It's just a question of how much do you like Cecil. So, normally in some of the previous tournaments, we had a flag that's used to be called Agility Agnostic on, which basically meant that instead of tying your all the combat agility to Cecil, it was instead tied to your party order. So that whoever was in your second slot, your middle slot, was your agility anchor. On this tournament, that flag is off, which means that all agility is tied to Cecil again. Which means if you need to slow your boss down by manipulating your agility, it's much harder to do that. So Cecil can quite frankly, be a liability. However, Cecil does have access to, apart from Edward with a spoon, the strongest weapons in the game. So he's a huge boon to your overall offense. So Cecil is a very huge, I would say, feaster or famine type of character in this flag set, which makes him a very interesting choice.
Yes, completely 100% agree with you there. Keddril had a spot open on his team, so he decided to go up Mount Hobbs and grab that second Sid, while Krim is going over here to Februal and defend the castle against a rampaging Asura.
So Keddril is betting on finding about 4 Artemis bows, I guess, based on this setup. This is Team Archer for the most part.
1 down, 3 to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Krim seems to be opting to try to out DPS Asura here, and with Palom throwing on a bluff or 2, I have to imagine at some point that will work out.
Right. Yeah. It shouldn't be too hard. This spot doesn't punch particularly hard. So it shouldn't really be a big deal between Cure 2 potions and the Rosa to keep everyone around while the Palom powers up. I think I saw somebody with a mute knife. I don't know who that was, if that's Keddril who's got that, but I don't think I've seen any other mage killing weapons otherwise.
I know we were looking for maybe mute arrows earlier in the seed. I don't think we found any, but if we do find that mute knife, that would be a very big help to get through this Asura quickly.
Right. I suppose I should say we did see elven bows in a shop somewhere, but they're rather expensive for this early in the game, and I don't think either player picked it up.
And given that Keddril just threw a wall up on Rosa, it looks like he's going to go with the wall strats here to block Asura's curing.
Yeah, so Ashura is an interesting fight. You've got a few different ways you can handle it. You can try and just hit her with high impact moves and abilities and just try to get in between the heals and spike her down before she can heal herself, which is sort of the strategy that looks like Crim is employing here. Keddril is going with one of the other ones, which is if you throw a wall on Ashura, of course, you can have her cure your own party. The other strat, which is being mentioned in chat a little bit, is the life lock.
Yes, if you can time your hits on a sword to the point where you hit her right after she casts life, when she casts her next curative spell, it'll just be life again, so she'll never wind up curing herself. It's a bit slower, requires a little bit better timing, but in a position like this, with the boss spot not having too much high HP, it would certainly be in play.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely not the kind of thing you want to do at a higher end boss, but at a higher end boss spot, you definitely want to go with one of the other tried and true methods. But the life lock at a location like this certainly works. But it looks like Keddril's choice of strategy here gets him through the fight quite a bit quicker. Shows up later than Crim, but gets through the fight earlier, and we will get to see what the King of the Bulls got for us.
It's a hook. Could this very well be a hook seed?
Very well could be. Man, I'm not sure how thrilled I would be with this particular party setup, seeing a hook.
I do have that Palom. If I can get him a few more levels, the Quake could probably carry me through it.
Yeah, probably.
But before that, exactly, I'm not feeling very confident right now.
Yeah, right. You do have Quake. You do have potentially access to Berserk and Blink with the Rosa. But other than Quake, you just don't have a lot of offensive firepower right now. We haven't seen any good weapons for the Kane or the myriad of Cecils that we've left lying around. If it's a tough boss spot, this could be a spicy hook.
We did get a Rune Axe coming down from the King's Tower in Fabrul, which is another nice item, which, depending upon the boss, could come in handy if you do end up going down the hook route.
I'll take items I wanted 5 minutes ago for 1,000, Alex.
But yeah, right now we don't have that killer item or that killer weapon character combination that would really make the hook route easy.
So Kendall's checking out these character locations in Mysidia. And wow, yeah, Invin pointing it out in chat. I think that Ashura was certainly at less than 100 health when that Cure 4 came out. That's rough for Crim.
Yeah, it's one of those feelings, I'm sure, as a runner, when you're just, when there's another big Cure 4 as well. When you feel like you've taken too much time, there's the reset, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Keddril is figuring out what he wants to do with this Kane and Cecil. I saw he dismissed the Sid. I think he kept the Kane.
Be able to take a look when he pulls his party up. That would, that would make a little bit of sense. Yeah.
Right. I must say, since we know that the bed character in Kaipo is a Cecil, and we had a Cecil here, I might have been convinced to reset out, keep the two Cecils available, and if I do find a Crystal Sword or even an Excalibur, possibly grab both of them and use one as an anchor and give the other one that very powerful Holy Sword. Right.
Even if you just want to take the one, if you just want to leave the second one in your back pocket so that you can go ahead and grab it if you do run into that tough boss spot, I think is perfectly fine as well.
Right. Right, but it's certainly not the obvious play at all. It's definitely how you feel as a runner about that Cecil and
Yeah.
about that vanilla agility.
For sure. Well, one thing I will say about Keddril, his Discord avatar is a picture of the Paladin, so maybe.
And yes, we have Trim here doing a second attempt on Rosa. Looks like, or it's not Rosa, on Essor, and looks like he's going to go with a Starveil strategy at this point.
Yeah. And I totally get Crim's greed, because I am 1000% too greedy for my own good when it comes to my consumables. You're trying not to use those Starveils. You're trying not to have to go back and buy them later. I totally get it, but yeah, this is definitely looking like one of those places where discretion is the better part of valor, and use the items that are available to you.
Speaking for me personally, it's one of those habits that's hard to break for me whenever I play an RPG, getting those items and never wanting to use them because I don't think it's the right time. And then all of a sudden, you're at the final boss, you've got an inventory full of killer items, and you're never going to use them. So I completely understand that.
Yeah, I absolutely. You save those mega elixirs for the whole game, and you get to the final boss. Then you don't even use them there either, usually. I don't. So, yeah.
We had a single blue robe here guarding Cecil up front. That's the Water Hag. Definitely not the space you'd want to see that free boss, since it's only a boss fight with, I think, 300 or 400 hit points.
Right. It's probably the one spot in the game where it's actually slower to get your Water Hag there than it is to get it elsewhere.
And behind the Water Hag is the Mom Bomb. Will hit relatively hard for this location, but still very much doable with this party.
Yeah, the biggest thing here is the extra 10,000 or so HP from that Mon Bomb basically gets because of the transform and the way the transform works. So this is already a spot with, I think it's about 4,000, I think, off the top of my head. So it is a pretty significant increase in the amount of health, and this, like you said, this spot will punch.
And Crimson took a reset and is reset back to the Antlion Cave. I'm not sure what happened there.
He must have something in mind here, but I'm not sure what it is, to be honest.
We'll have to keep an eye on that and see what he chooses to do. In the meantime, we do have Helen casting Ice 2 on Mom Bomb. That's a decent amount of damage. One thing I never understood about Mom Bomb is that Mom Bomb is not weaker to ice or strong against fire or anything like that. There's no elemental strengths or weaknesses that she has.
Yeah, you're right. You would think it would be a fire-themed monster, but yeah, she's basically non-elemental, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Right. And we see that exploding about to happen on keddril. That indicates that you have about 10,000 more hit points to go through. And at this level, there's pretty much no way you can shoot through that much. You're going to get to the extra bombs at the end of this fight.
Yep, so keddril is throwing the spells out there. Like I said, you probably are going to see the explosion here. You'd probably just want to set up on the Palom and hold for the ice too. And that's one of Edward's nice little utilities there with the hide, hiding him off screen for the explosion and pulling him back out.
Yeah, there are certainly a lot of utility to an Edward that you don't normally see, because normally you don't usually carry him around. But things like that really show off some of his versatility. Crimson is through the Antlion fight again, picks up the Sand Ruby again. We'll see what he decides to do at this point, having reset back to here.
And yeah, keddril. So with the 6, well, originally 6, down to 4 now, different sources of physical attack here. You can see the power. The gray bombs in particular are basically capable of one-shotting most of these party members right now. So gets the ice 2 off this time, which should be enough. Yeah, there you go.
Yes. And it's a white spear, which combined with that cane makes you a little bit stronger. Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that. You feel great about that now. You basically have this cane decked out more or less where you want him. You have a dwarf axe, you have a white spear for him now, which can take advantage of a whole bunch of undead and zombie monsters. If you find something like Dean Lunars on your hook route, yeah, between the white mage, the quake, and the powered up cane, now I would feel a lot more confident about that hook route if we have to go through it.
Yes, we do still have ordeals to go through if we do decide to maybe see if we can find some a good key item there, or possibly some more levels. Otherwise, it is just the hook route at this point for us.
Right. So Keddril's going to grab his hovercraft, and I know Keddril is a fan of diving into Eblan Castle, so we'll see if that's what he's planning on doing, or if he's just checking out Eblan and the chests and the character in the shops and things.
No, he certainly is going to the castle. Given the fact that he seems to be fading ordeals, at least at this point, it's a good play to get some extra experience.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, and I think the other part is with all the Cecils lying around, you have the possibility of pulling Crystal / Excalibur swords here as well. So I think that's probably factoring into some of his decision making here.
Right, more equipment certainly would not go amiss. And it looks like Crimson is through the Asura fight this time. Congratulations to him.
Yep, toughs it out, gets through it. We'll get his probably not necessarily bad news, but sigh news of a hook, and putting that possibility on the table for him.
Keddril does find a light sword in one of the chests over here. That would make an interesting choice. Do you take the Cecil if you have a light sword, or do you think that's just not strong enough?
Right. So I think that's probably bare minimum threshold for a lot of folks. Paladin Cecil does also have a nice bit of utility with his auto cover. Lightsaber and the potential to cheese out some of the harder hitting physical bosses with the Paladin cover would probably be enough for me to go ahead and grab a Cecil, especially since these runners already have a curse ring.
Right, you're not terribly worried about running into a killer boss with high agility in the hook route because of that combination of equipment.
Well, we will see if Keddril is in agreement with that or not, if he decides to pick up the Cecil that is in the Mysidia bed. I believe that's the only one that he still has available to him. Mysidia bed, Kaipo bed, that's where that bed is.
And Keddril running into a little bit of issue here with these black cats and their bluster reaction, which can potentially auto KO one of your characters. But now just down to the Lamia to get through this first fight of the trap chest.
Yeah, the Lamias also have a charm counter as well if you don't take them out in one hit. So you still have to be a little bit careful, but it looks like he is just going to sit here and get everybody up, which is definitely the right call.
And unsurprisingly, Crim gets through that first water hag fight. Now gets to deal with this mom bomb in the second spot.
And yeah, the Lemia still does hit a little bit hard. These trap chests in Eblan are not a joke without hourglasses or access to stop or something like that. They definitely can still be a little bit challenging. You can see here they have enough. This Lamia has enough attack power that she's still one-shotting everybody but the Rosa and the Cid here.
Yeah, you definitely want to get at least your Palom up to get your get experience on him, because he's going to be the one that really needs it the most to get to that virus level and that quake level for this upcoming hook route. That at least it looks like a hook route.
Yeah, I was just about to mention you can see Keddril's pulling out the vampire here. You may need to give up the ghost and just get through this fight here, or else you might be eating a reset. The real Galaxy Brain play with the sneaking will be when somebody sneaks a silver shield onto Iridia. That'll be the real hype.
I do want to mention we are about half an hour in, and we've seen a lot of characters, and both our runners are still carrying an Edward with them. Which I would expect maybe one of them to have dropped the Edward. Both of them seem to want to stick it out, maybe find that spoon.
Yeah, absolutely. There is also the possibility that, sort of like we talked about, that Eddie does have a fair amount of utility. So you could potentially, if you get something like an evil wall or something in the hook route, you might want to hang on to him. But it is a little curious. It is definitely still holding out for the long play for sure.
I saw that it was saving a crystal item. I think maybe it was that a crystal shield, not a crystal sword. I see crystal shield in the inventory there for keddril, so I assume that's what was got for that. So, fortunately, the wrong crystal item.
Crystal shield definitely helpful, but certainly not game changing.
No, I think the more important thing is that keddril did get virus onto the Palom there, so at least at that level.
All right, going back to the well with the J items here, pulling out this Boreas to hopefully take out these skulls. Just a little bit short there on the damage, unfortunately. It's going to make this a little scary.
And Crim having some problems with that Mom Bomb is going to they did take a reset there and going to, at the very least, loot the rest of Barrett here to see if we can get a decent item or two. And there's Berserk on Rose over keddril, and a Bahamut summon. We haven't seen a Riddy yet, so unfortunately may just get sold.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We do have a character sitting on Ordeal still, and we do have a character sitting in the hook route, so potential to get that summoner.
True, and with a as we keep talking about it, with a potential hook route on board, Bahamut summon is an excellent tool in those boss fights.
Crim starting up with his Water Hag fight again, getting his second crack at Mom Bomb. Keddril has exited out of Evelyn, has done 2 of the summon chests. We'll see if he goes back in for the 3rd. Yeah. Palom unfortunately did miss out on the experience from the Staleman Skull chest, so I don't know if there's going to be enough here on the Mad Ogres to be able to get him to Quake. I'm not sure if he's really got a decent way of killing them either, to be honest.
Well, we're about to find out as he finds that chest. We haven't found anything like charm arrows or mute arrows or anything else like that, so it could be a bit of a slog.
Pulling the Berserk out on the Cid immediately, so I'm not sure. Oh, that's right, we do have a Rune Axe. That's true. Yeah, so Rune Axe will make pretty quick work of them for sure. Because it's the Mad Ogres, as you can tell by their large muscular appearance, are weak against mage weaponry.
Never did quite figure that one out, no.
I mean, I guess they could be the wizards from Solstice, I guess. That guy is ripped.
And you see keddril just waiting for Cid just to rip through those Mad Ogres and going to do the life push to get as much experience out of this chest as possible. It's a smart play.
All right, the Golbez point is well taken. Well taken.
We got another interesting sword. We got the Avenger.
Well, that's huge with a cane.
Yes.
Avenger Cane. Cane just naturally has so much speed, and the one place that Cane does sort of struggle is his spear weaponry has relatively low accuracy when you compare it to swords of similar level. The Avenger, the extra strength and the extra speed coming off the cane, plus with the extra power that comes off the stats that the Avenger gives you, Avenger Cane can basically carry you through until you're starting to get ready to completely clear out the underground, basically on his own. It's a pretty nice find, and that between that and the experience on the Palom, that probably is enough to make that dive into Evelyn Castle for keddril well worth it.
Completely agree with you there. Looks like he's skipping these early chests to go straight to usually stacked shop here, but I think it's just got coffins and elixirs.
The coffins are nice. There are some of the bosses, well, I guess air quotes bosses, don't have the boss bit enabled, so they are eligible to be hit by that. So having a few of them on hand, just so that you can make use of them in case any of those happen to show up, is nice. And there you go, 10 of them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely worth picking up a stack of those if you got the money for it. Crim is through that mom bomb fight the second time of asking, turns down the Cecil, but does get the white spear.
And yeah, Invin pointing out, Keddril did decide to sell his light sword at that store there, so that probably means that Cecil's off the table unless we, at the very least, unless an Excalibur Crystal Sword shows up later.
So we're in an interesting situation here with the divergence between the runners, since Crim took a little bit longer to get through those fights and has less experience. He might be tempted to take on Ordeals, even though he technically won't get any of the character powers out of it. But if Ordeals is hiding a Magma key, all of a sudden we got a race again.
Absolutely. Like I said, we still do have a character sitting there that I don't believe either of them have checked, and if that's Atella, I mean, that gives you all the power you need right there, because you can just get your D-Machine grind started. Nice Stardust Rod.
Oh, that was a Stardust Rod, wasn't it? That's very nice.
Yeah, for sure. So we went from talking about a party that we felt was lacking in overall offensive power to now we have White swapping into Avenger Kane and a completely decked out Palom, and now all of a sudden offense isn't really a major concern anymore.
Yeah, suddenly we're feeling a lot better about this hook round, I must say.
Right.
And it does look like after dragging the hovercraft over to Ablin, we are saving outside of Ordeal, so it looks like we're going to climb it to at least see the character, if not to complete it.
Absolutely. Now, just want the seed to deliver and give us the Tella right here. That's what we ought. That's what we all want.
After the suffusion of vanilla that was Antlion Cave, I think we would like to see it. But it's a fourth Cecil.
This guy just does not know how to take no for an answer.
This seed is certainly trying to give you a message here.
Maybe this is setting up for the long play. Maybe we'll wind up with a required buying in at a super root spot or something, and we're all going to wish we had 3 paladins covering each other. But as it stands right now, all the Cecils have been returned to the bench, and we're going to continue with basically everybody else.
There is Iridia, and we've got, well, it's either going to be leg or it's going to be quarter leg with the Elements boss in the second spot here, which vanilla or French vanilla, take your pick.
So Ruby is actually one of the bosses that is very, very interesting. In the free enterprise rando format makes him a very interesting boss in that he punches enough that he's scary in the physical spots. The fire 2 counters are rough enough in the higher magic location spots that's really annoying. But he also has lots of different ways he can be cheesed because of his weakness to ice and the fact that he doesn't really have a ton of offense against you unless you let him counter against you. Ruby is like the epitome of why Free Enterprise is awesome, in my opinion, and how he winds up and where he winds up and how you get to deal with him.
Makes perfect sense to me. Keddril finally did say goodbye to Edward, picking up that Iridia, almost certainly because he has that bottlet waiting for her. She will need a little bit more levels to get the HP up in order to cast it, but if we do find the Mad Ogre's chest, which I have to imagine Keddril's going to do, we just found a Sylph as well.
I mean, just getting the Iridia starter pack all put together here. You have 10 coffins in your inventory. I would be very tempted to pull the Mad Ogre chest here and just get this Iridia online, and it looks like Keddril is looking, so that looks like that is what he's looking for. But what do we have on Crim's side?
We've got a D-Mist in the stack attack spot here on Ordeals, which makes this Ordeals play a little bit more spicy, since that's a second key item that Keddril is not going to get early on in this seed.
That's right, yeah, and remember that we need the Baron key to beat this seed, so if the Baron key is behind this D-Mist item check, whether directly or indirectly, that also would be a humongous advantage for Crim.
And we found an Ode to summon, probably the least exciting of the summons, since that's very situational for Rydia to use. But Keddril's still going to teach it to her.
Does still have its utility here and there. Less so with the coffins in your inventory, of course, but Keddril has decided that he does not need whatever the king of the summoned monsters is worth. And sort of fortunate, I guess, is that looks like we're going to wind up with the Mad Ogre chest being the last one here, which means you do get the safety save in front of it if Keddril decides that he wants to take it. Looks like he does.
That is pretty nice, especially since you're carrying a base level Rydia here, with only one hit going to take her out. If she misses out on her experience here, you're going to be much less happy than otherwise if you took it. So it's good to have that save. So in case things do go wrong, reset, take the fight again, make sure Rydia can cast her spells.
And able to get off 2 life glitches here on the first one, and he got the potential to get multiple lives off by not having them hourglassed, simply because you have the time that the Mad Ogres are using to make their own attacks to be able to get additional life potions off here, potentially. So instead of the usual 7 Mad Ogres worth of experience, you could wind up with significantly more than that.
Be a great boon. We might even see Palom get up to Quake levels. Oh, we have a Darkness Crystal on Crim's side waiting out here on Mount Ordeals. That is, if not required, almost 95% sure to be required.
Yeah, so this definitely does look like this is going to be heavily incentivized to be able to get your way through ordeals. Hard to imagine that you're not going to need that based on the objective layout. Technically possible, but hard to imagine it actually happening, as you said.
Right, if you get the pass, and if you find the Adamant and the Legend Sword, you can technically get the first 3 objectives done without going to the moon, but you're almost certainly going to need the Darkness Crystal given this setup. How about more weaponry for Kain? We got a defense sword.
Yes, Kane's best weapon, depending on who you talk to. The power is just a little bit less than his best spears, but has additional accuracy attached. So he does tend to hit harder with it on average. So swapping defense into that Avenger is basically the top level output you're going to get on a Kain.
It gets to the point where you almost wish you had a second Kain to get all those nice weapons too.
All right, Keddril's going to take his save here, and we will see who is at the Royals spot upcoming. The Royal spot where the King and Queen of Ebelin normally are, that's completely free fight in vanilla, so you don't know, but the developers decided to give that spot a whole bunch of physical attack power. So getting something like a Bygunner is really, really rude. Well, this is why you buy coffins.
There's your free fight for you. It's the Kaito guards, 2 coffins down, and we can move on.
That's right. This spot doesn't give experience either, so you don't even care about life glitching or keeping people alive. Just get the 2 coffins off. That's all that matters.
This is arguably the more difficult of the 2 spots, even though the Rubicante spot has about 3 or 4 times as much hit points. But just the speed and the damage that this spot can pull off can really derail a seed. And Keddril not bothering the safety save, as that free fight was free, and we see a vanilla Rubicante.
Yet more vanilla for our coffee, tea, whatever it is you're drinking. Hopefully not soda. Vanilla and soda doesn't sound particularly great, but like I said, shouldn't be too bad here. See, the Fire 2 counters just aren't that bad here. So even with the Kain setting the counters off all the time, the Bahamut and the Quake, which I believe Palom should have, should be able to get through this fairly quickly.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I might have missed it, but I don't think Crim actually checked the demist spot. See what Rydia's mom had today, which could be unfortunate.
Yeah, it is one of those things where it's very easy to forget to do it, and it's one of those things that you always feel real bad about. So hopefully he's going to remember to back there and take a look, because as you mentioned, if it's Magma Key or if it leads into the required Baron Key, it could be a real nice find that he's done ordeals early while his opponent hasn't.
I know when I play, sometimes I will, if I fight the D-Mist in the middle of a series of bosses like Crim did on Mount Ordeals, it can slip my mind as well, so I completely understand.
Keddril continuing to get through this ruby spot. This ruby spot is mostly just a little bit of annoyance with the glares on a lot of HP, but it's just not really a huge threat to Keddril's party overall, so just needs to be able to work his way through it.
It's just a question of time more than anything else. How fast can you chew through the relatively large amount of hit points this boss has in this spot?
Crim continuing through, grabbing the loot. If he's looting, will wind up finding that very nice Stardust Rod. Will likely not be taking the Rydia, I would imagine, since he doesn't have that Bahamut summon that Keddril pulled out of Evelyn Castle.
Now that could be a very key difference in the character, the party makeup, excuse me, for these two runners. And especially because you find Sylph and Odin in the chests going up the Tower of Babel here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That could definitely. This Eddie is just, unfortunately, is just not bringing a whole lot to the party right now. I wonder if you see the Rydia and decide not to take her, you see the Rubicante and you know that the Edward's not going to do very much for you in that fight, and then you see the Self right afterward. If you've got a safety save set up, maybe you just reset and grab her. It would be something worth considering. Not sure if I would do it in his spot or not, but I would definitely think about it.
Agreed. And Keddril is through that ruby spot, got through the hook route in about 45 minutes, and is now underground. And I don't think he walked over far enough to see the...
It was one of those little moon twinkles, those lovely moon twinkles. Yeah.
So, doesn't really tell you much. I think the only one we've seen so far has been Plague on Mountain Ordeal, so it really could be anything.
Alright, Keddril is now underground, is immediately going to check out his freebie in the Land of Some Monsters.
And it looks like, oh dear, it looks like Crim's hardware might have had an issue.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Crim, that reset for whatever reason, his hardware wiped out the SRAM on that ROM, so his save is gone. He is going to choose to play through it. So it is a randomizer, so you know what you found and where. You can beeline for what matters and what you need to do. So this is not necessarily the end of Crim. It certainly is unfortunate, but if he beelines to get what he needs to do done, then he could potentially pull himself back into the race here if Keddril winds up going down some unrequired rabbit holes.
Absolutely. You do know where all the characters are on the overworld. You know where the boss is. You do know where all the items are. So if you can remember this all and route it pretty fast, you can probably get back to where you were in maybe about half the time.
Yeah, that's what you would be. That's what you would be hoping for. This is something that's happened to me playing the Link to the Past randomizer before, and that was the goal I set for myself: get what I've done already done in about half the time it took me to do it the first time. That's the goal you set. You go fast and try to do it as best you can, and that's what Crim is going to be looking to do here.
And of course, with the nature of the randomizer, Keddril doesn't know this has happened, so I mean, he's still got all that pressure behind him trying to get this must-win game done. Give a couple Z wipes, anything could happen.
Absolutely, and Invin's got a great point in the chat as well. That play into ordeals is huge, and while Crim doesn't know that Keddril hasn't done it, the Darkness Crystal and potentially what comes off that D-Mist is knowledge that he does, potentially crucial knowledge that he has that his opponent doesn't. that could still factor into the race at the end.
On the other hand, keddril did go down to Feymarch and pick up the Earth Crystal, so we could be playing everybody's new favorite game, Rate That Treasury, pretty soon.
Rate That Treasury, yeah. Especially when you have the Cecil sitting in Kaipo, right? Like, there's you have the potential. Like I've been to be saying throughout this whole tournament. Quite often, it's about who's got the biggest stick, and if you find the biggest Cecil's biggest stick in the treasury, then that's a real good reason to go get him.
But we're probably going to have to hold off on that for a while, as keddril is going to head into the fights at Dwarf Castle here. I'm fairly sure at least Rydia must have warp at this point, given the fact that she went through the hook route.
I would imagine, as long as Palom stays alive through these 2 fights, he should get himself to level 30 and get access to warp. So,
and it is Mylon as the first fight here with the ghasts. Should be a pretty quick fight given the power that keddril has at his disposal right now.
Absolutely, giving himself two shots at the pan here, most likely, before deciding to go and take that freebie trip there through the Sylph Cave.
Island probably didn't have too many hit points left, but why not throw a swag Bahamut out there to not even hear about him complaining about his body?
Express your dominance. Let him know how wrong he was to challenge you in the first place.
And yes, there is that warp on the PAL with the Dwarf Castle glitch active. You can go right to the back of Luca Cave without having to walk through it and deal with the boss there, which is always a very fast way to get 2 key items out of this place. And we've got a Lunar Sparkle as the second boss.
Oh, and there's Artella.
We're thinking about the Cid here. The Cid is going away.
Yeah.
Well, our party looks very interesting right now on keddril's side. Aside from the Kane, it's all mages. Are we thinking about Reflex strats to get through the Zeromus fight at this point?
I would be. I definitely would be. Especially, we've got a Stardust and a Change Rod for the 2 black mages potentially set up. I noticed Crim had a Life Staff. I don't know if keddril found that. But you've got really, really good potential offensive mage gear. You have the Tella. You know, completing the Giant of Babel is one of your objectives. I would want the Darkness Crystal and the opportunity to get this this mage team fully online from here.
That makes a heck of a lot of sense. If you can do just a few more D-Machine fights, for example, on the Giant of Babel, you can get your party up to nuke levels without a terrible amount of difficulty. So I think that makes a lot of sense to start planning that right now as the way you want to beat the game.
Yeah, for sure. Cid, of course, you might be thinking, well, if he wants to do that, why not ditch the Kane and keep the Cid? Because the Cid's the better option there as your potential chemist in the Zeromus fight. You just got to remember that you have more to do other than Zeromus in this seed still, and the offensive weaponry of the Kane is just a real nice boon for all of that, particularly for bosses that like to wall themselves, for instance. You do have Quake, of course, and you do have Bahamut, but it's another piece of offense that you'd be throwing away. And Kane's HP growth is not so bad that he's a liability as your chemist as well.
Absolutely right. And it looks like Luca Cave was just acting as a wine cellar in this seed.
Which, with just the Avenger Kane, not particularly useful right now.
Right. Normally, you're very happy to find one or a stack of Bacchus wines, but given this party configuration, there really is no use for that item right now. And it's a white shirt. Another nice item, especially for Rosa, but we went 0 for 2 on key items here, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is a little bit unfortunate. You know, keddril is probably hoping, even if it's not... I imagine what's going through keddril's head right now is like, okay, give me the Darkness Crystal and just key items so I can get to 10. That's what I want. Like, even if it's not the Baron key, I just want key items to get to 10. And then, of course, you go to Dwarf Castle hoping for at least 1 and you draw blanks. Doesn't feel good.
You're looking at your key items right now. You've got 4 of them. You're still 6 away from getting to that double experience, which will definitely help you get up to those nuke levels. And you're kind of worried at this point, how many am I going to find? Where are they hiding? Are they all on the moon, for example?
Yeah, right. I guess the one nice thing about that is that when you go 0 for 2 in Dwarf Castle, like if you don't go 2 for 2 here in Tower, like you probably know you're not getting to 10. So at that point, you just kind of just live with the fact that if you're doing D machines, you're doing the less efficient version.
Keddril took a look at the tower and said no, and apparently is going down and saying hi to Young down here to get Sheila 1 active. I wonder if he's what he's thinking about doing next after this, then.
I would imagine he's probably just going to come back to Tower after this, I would think. This feels like I'm going to check this just in case it's darkness, and I decided I want to get my grind started now. Otherwise, I think you'd want to be doing Tower first to give yourself the shot at the pan and only having to make this walk once. So we can see Krim's gone down and has grabbed his Sand Ruby again. I would assume he just wants to, he feels like it's decent experience and it adds the key item to his list of 10 potentially for the future.
Right.
But the pauses, the pauses here are actually, I mean, I'm just guessing obviously, but I would guess that the periodic pauses are him trying to think out in front, like, okay, what do I need to do now that I've done that is necessary for me to do?
You're trying to layer over the knowledge of having played the seed already onto what you normally do, try to remember, okay, if I go to Fabul, I'll face this boss, I want to be in this position, trying to prepare yourself for what's going to happen. We've got an Excalibur that Sheila was holding on to for us. Is that going to be enough to sway Keddril? At this point, given his that he's got a lot of mages in his party, I probably don't think so.
Yeah, it's such a powerful tool, but yeah, no, I'm kind of in agreement. There is, like we mentioned, the extra utility coming out of having the Paladin potentially as well, but you are just set up for such a nice reflex strat here.
And Keddril's opting, instead of going up the tower, get the key items there, to take a look at Ordeals. Of course, we know from previous experience that this is indeed where the Darkness Crystal is hiding out.
Right, and then potentially this feels to me, well, here we go. If he's going to take Cecil, he might as well just take this one. And there you go.
Yeah, right, because that would be the perfect opportunity to get 2 Cecils from your party if you wanted to do your agility manipulation that way. But it's clear, I think Keddril's happy with his party as it stands right now, and to be perfectly honest, I don't blame him one bit.
Right. This is to get the Tela online, and it's going to wind up actually just flat out giving him the Darkness Crystal as well. So we'll see if he just decides to just immediately go to the Giant of Babel from here, or if he decides to continue trying to clear out the underground.
Well, you'll be on 5 key items, 6 potentially, depending upon what the D-Mist will give you. And I think, if you're on 8 or 9 at this point, I could see clearing the tower first, try to get to that 10 key item threshold. But I think you're just so far away, you just commit to doing a bit longer of grind than you might have hoped for, and clear out the Giant.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. If your plan was to do it from the start, then yeah, then you're just locked into just doing it as soon as the Darkness Crystal shows up. I would agree with that.
And having gone through the hook route and having lots of levels on his party, lots of good equipment, none of these bosses are going to pose any problem at all for Keddril. He will be through them very quickly. Unfortunately, Keddril finding out that Plague is indeed flying and therefore can't get
I am going to give him so much grief about that when this race is over. Keddril, come on, man. It has wings. It's actually got a floating animation.
I mean, Mylon Z, having that one being technically floating, I can understand that perfectly for you not understanding that one also misses on the Quake. But yeah, Plague is there flying in front of you.
I am going to be absolutely merciless. So Keddril finds the bonus round here. And hopefully we'll go and take a peek at this once he gets through the rest of Ordeals.
Avix getting through that Asura fight a lot quicker this the second time around. Thankfully, I believe he was able to prepare himself mentally for what he was able to face and was able to get through it without much problem.
Yeah, this time just pulled the star veils out immediately just to make sure that he could get through it. And heading off to the Baron Inn, going to be looking at doing that. As long as he picked up those few J items that were around, should be able to get through the Mom Bomb fight relatively quickly.
That's right. And yes, there is the Darkness Crystal for keddril. And there's the Mylon Z fight, as we just said. And yeah, just one swing from the Avenger. That's all you need. So keddril still has a couple of other options you might want to do before potentially going to the Giant and doing some grinding. He could check out the Treasury, because the Earth Crystal hasn't turned that in yet. And of course, could check the Mist Dragon item as well. But I also would not be surprised if he just makes a beeline from the city and goes to the Giant very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely want to take a look at the. I mean, you're in go mode if it's the Baron Key, right? So I would definitely want to take a quick gander at it before I jet it off to parts unknown.
Absolutely.
So here we go. Show us the D-Mist. Keddril! That's fine.
Runners,
you can still do it.
Oh yes. You just might want to raise the whale since he's right here.
This is the one thing with from Crim's side of things. The one thing with going through everything over again and trying to go fast is that you do typically wind up with less in terms of both resources and levels. So you can see like the party is struggling a little bit to do decent damage to this Mom Bomb at all. The Yeti is finally starting to do a little bit, but just that lack of weaponry is slowing him down here a little bit.
I do appreciate the fact that he did give Eddie the Artemis bow.
Yeah, Rosa is just going to be so much more useful here for her utility than for her ability to do any damage with it. Whereas the Eddie is, if he's not doing any damage for you, he's not really doing much. So.
Right. Interestingly enough, keddril's opting to go straight to the moon instead of maybe setting up for a D-Machine grind on the Giant.
Yeah, flying. Yeah, I was about to say flying immediately to the shop. It just feels like a shop check. Could potentially just decide that he would rather grind with sirens if they're available. Potentially.
Doesn't look like it. It's not, we have hourglasses here. Nice to find, of course, but it doesn't look like. I think we've checked every gated shop at this point. We haven't found any sirens, unless he skipped. No, I'm sorry. He did not skip. Dwarf Town in the underground.
All right, potentially just going to get this character cutscene out of the way. I'm not really sure who could possibly be here that he would want to take.
I doubt he's interested in a 6, or that he's already had one. He's already had 2, actually. I think he's turned them both away.
That's right, yes. They have both briefly spent some time in the party and have since left us.
And yeah, I was going to head back down to the blue planet. I say at this point, I would at least, putting myself in keddril's shoes, I would go ahead and get that D-Machine grind setup at the very least, and maybe also check the demist item.
Yeah, I would want to check the demist item first, but apart from that, yeah, I completely agree from you. Yeah, with you that you just want to get your levels here. Take all the guesswork out of what's left to do. Just get your party ready to go.
And once we do get our levels and we do get through the giant, then it's just basically a question: where is that Baron key? And it could be on the moon. It could be hiding behind another set of checks here. It could be behind Twin Harp or Pan. So we still have a lot of places to go. Looks like we're going to do a check of the. I was not saying it looks like we're going to do a check of the treasure here, but keddril's opting out instead.
So the airship swap was interesting. When I saw the airship swap, I was like, "Oh, we're doing the Earth Crystal. That's what's happening here." Because you make the swap so that you're not stuck with the Falcon stuck on the parking spot beside Troya. But realized, oh yeah, I have that dragon thing that I should be checking.
It's a defense sword. Unfortunately, we already have one of them.
Right, and no edge with which to throw it. It is a decent amount of money, but we're kind of at the point where money's not really doing much for us either.
No. Question in chat, keddril did go down to Feymarch. That's where he did find the Earth Crystal. I do not believe he checked who the bosses were, though. And yeah, now it's time to rate that treasury.
Rate that treasury. What's your bet? What's your over/under?
Oh gosh, I don't know even what we're looking for right now. Maybe another Stardust Rod would be nice for Rydia, but we could find some decent maybe defensive items. We found a Murasami in the first chest. We've never seen an edge yet.
Found the inventory boss down here.
Worst boss in the game.
Boy, that sounds like a really fun flag. We should put a flag in that sometimes there are random chests that just fill your inventory with Cure 1s. That sounds fun.
How many Bahamut summons does one person need? I think I saw 2 down there. We've already had 1 earlier, which is it will be nice for Crim because if he chooses not to find the Bahamut summon in Evelyn, but otherwise that's pretty much a bust.
Yeah, pretty much. The couple of moderate equipment upgrades, I think, but yeah, certainly not.
There's
nothing life-changing. Yeah.
There's some decent swords for an edge, but even at this point, we haven't even seen an edge. We've seen a lot of the different character spots. I don't think you even get an edge into this party. I think you're happy with who you have.
Yeah, I don't think there's an awful lot of point at this. Really, you're solidified with a really nice mage team here for Zeromus. There's not really a need to mess with that. Like, if anything, you would potentially want to get rid of the Cane for a higher HP character, but like I said, you still have the firepower the Cane gives you until you get to Zeromus. So yeah, no, I don't think there's going to be much going on here for keddril in terms of changing up what he's got.
It does make this Zot play interesting because it is a 2-character check, and if you did have a kind of a weak party, it is a nice place to get maybe a couple better characters. It is key item, of course, but it does take a while to get there. So
yeah, this is this does sort of feel like really pushing to try and get that group of 10 items before you head to the giant feel to it. Not really sure why else the Earth Crystal check would be high up on your list of things to do if you're in keddril spot.
I mean, if he does pull a Baron key out of this, though, it's great play.
Right, exactly. Then what do we know, right? Like...
And for this already pretty long location, we now have a pretty long boss in Dr. Lugai.
Yeah, Dr. Luggage, as he's affectionately known as, just doesn't have a whole ton of stuff he can do to hurt you offensively, really. So, and he even will, on average, have less HP than other bosses at that spot because of how it gets split between the 4 different forms that make up that boss fight. So he's like the laser can hurt, but it's reflectable, and he still does punch sometimes. So in the high physical spots, he can be annoying, but he's generally a boss that you like to see at harder locations.
Right. Usually the worst he ever does is he makes you do that poison walk if he does manage to get the poison off. And I think this is Cecil number 5 we found so far.
Yeah, we could be quit Ceciling in this Seed Twisted. Why do our runners hate fun?
This seed is trying to tell you something. Take Cecil. Take Cecil. And if not Cecil, take Sid. That's our 4th Sid.
We only loaded 2 characters in this seed, apparently. Except for the ones that we kept.
Oh, he's thinking about it. He's thinking about it.
He's thinking.
I seriously can't tell if he's actually thinking about it or if he's just trolling us.
I don't know. Over the Palom, really?
We did find a lightsaber, but I believe he sold it. We do have Excalibur from Sheila.
Right.
He's doing it. He is taking out the Palom. I am very interested to see how this play is going to go.
Okay, so now you are going from pure mage to basically more hybrid here. The one thing about the Rydia, we do have a Bahamut, so she does have that over the Palom here, but you could potentially make the argument that there's so much power between this Cecil and this Kane that you could just have the 2 of them with the Rosa take out Zeromus at potentially a lower level than what you'd be able to what you would need to get a mage team caught up to.
We do want to welcome the raid party coming in from Randomania 2. You're joining us in the middle of a unfortunately interesting match. I say unfortunately because CrimsonAvix had an issue with his hardware that caused him to have to take a full reset 45 minutes into the seed. So he's trying to catch up as best he can, and we're all supporting him all the way because it certainly is an unfortunate thing that happened.
Ha 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 has arrived. And for anybody who doesn't know, this spot has a metric ton of magic power. You are not surviving a spell in this spot. You need to get your Star Veils up to be able to get through this.
Yeah, this is one of the more nasty spots where you can find Golbez because you have no warning that he's going to strike here. Other places you might be able to do a little manipulation. Maybe you can cast Piggy or Size on your characters. But here you're walking in blind the first time. You just have to hope that your menuing and the timing just works out well.
Yep. And I suppose we can give a quick recap in terms of where our items were. Really, the only real piece of progression we found has been the Darkness Crystal on Ordeals, which also has one of the 5 Cecils that we found, with only 1 Excalibur in the seed so far to really make taking them worthwhile here, which was why keddril decided to finally take one. We are on the hunt for the Baron Key specifically. The Baron Key is the linchpin to being able to get through here, and we got no clue where that is. And we have the Fey March bosses, the tower area, and all of the moons still open to us to check.
Board AI not doing the job tonight. Rosa was able to get out a Star Veil while Rydia took the full force of Golbez's virus and was able to get through the Golbez fight, therefore. So congratulations to keddril on winning the 50-50.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, one thing here is that with this Cecil is that if keddril decides to go and do his grind here, with the level 1 Cecil, that Cecil is going to get one heck of a slingshot off the D machines here. And even though it's not Crystal Sword, an Excal Cecil who's in like the 50s or 60s is going to steamroll through most of the seed on his own.
We found the only key that, well, I guess at this point, the Magma key isn't really very good either, but the Lugu key, having already done the dwarf castle glitch, is not very useful. We've also already found D-Mist, so he can't be hiding down there. So it's a key item, but really nothing else.
Yeah, and landing the airship. If you're going to check out Zot, I think it's totally fair to suggest that perhaps you should be checking out the tower area before you go up as well, but immediately jumping into the lunar whale. And here we go, setting up the manipulation for the D-Machines.
This is exciting. This is the first time that I've commented on a race where someone's actually doing the D-Machine manipulation that I helped build, so I'm so proud.
Nice. Well then, what? Take it away, sir. The floor is yours. What is keddril doing?
Well, the way that the RNG works in this game is very weird in terms of determining what you get for your encounters. What happens is when you reset the game, you sort of get onto a sequence of encounters based on any one of 8 different groups that are in every location. And we can use the number of steps it takes for you to find your first encounter to determine what that sequence is going to be. So what we end up doing is we start running through the sequence until we get to a point where we know the next enemy encounter group in line could be a D-Machine grind on the Tower of Babel. What you do is you stop your encounters there, turn off the counters, that freezes that encounter seed. You go to the location, turn it back on, the next RNG comes up, we know what it's going to be, we know exactly that it's going to be the D-Machine grind, and it saves us the issue of the can't run flag that this flag set had. Normally you would just go up to the giant, you would walk a certain route, you would find some battles, you would run from them until you found the one you want. However, in this case, because the giant's a relatively late game area, you really can't run from them very cleanly. Plus, there's always the issue that you run into the situation where you find the encounter group that looks like the D-Machine grind, but actually summons, I think it's horsemen, not the D-Machine, so you wind up losing a lot of time if you find the fake group. This way we can manipulate it to so we find exactly what we want first time, no muss, no fuss, saves us a lot of time.
There you go. So, as Scala said, that will be on the test, so everybody make sure you took good notes.
Now, since it does look like keddril's taking multiple fights here, that means he did find a good sequence. Sometimes you load up the game, you end up in a situation where we can't guarantee that you can find the D-Machine in the right place within a decent amount of time. You can always find it at some point, but it might take you 7, 8, 9 fights to set up. We don't have that time. It's just safer to reset at that point and try to find one where it might only take you 1 or 2 fights.
So it looks like we were taking a look at the sheet, so it looks like this should be the only other fight that keddril needs.
He's turning off the encounters. It looks like he is all set and ready to go. Now, I don't know about you, but when I do this, even though I help create this manipulation, I still feel very scared every time I go to the giant and get that first battle, because what if this is a time that I accidentally introduced a typo on the chart or something? It's never happened yet. No one's ever complained, but I still feel very worried.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand that. I can even if you don't have the extra pressure, being one of the creators of the manipulation in the first place, I can totally understand just from a runner's point of view, being like, if I didn't do this right, I'm wasting like 2-3 minutes going to the giant, finding out that I didn't count properly or whatever it was that you did wrong. So it certainly is still an investment for sure.
Yeah, that is unfortunately one of the drawbacks of this manipulation, is that it does take a couple minutes to set up. The old manipulation, you just go to the giant, you'd save, you can just reload right from that save point, and you wouldn't really lose much time at all. Here, there is that front-loaded time where you set it up, and you just have to hope that you did it right, and you also have to hope that I did it right.
Okay, remembering to take the Avenger off is a good start, for sure.
Yeah, it seems like that. Where normally, if you would just do the reset, do the manipulation again, and you would lose much time. But if you kept that Avenger on, you would basically just have to kill Kane in order to keep the fight going.
Should wind up with our grand fight here.
That's the first step. That looks like the right fight. Now just have to make sure we summon the D machines.
And Crim having to take a bit of a reset at the Mad Ogre chest here, but I believe that is back into the fight once again. Going to use this to be able to get his Palom to the point where he'll be able to chunk away at that HP at the Rubicon fight and get his way through here.
Now I got a question for you, Zyrak. When you do a D machine grind, do you go into the fight with a set number in mind of how many you want to fight, or do you use a calculator? Because I know there are calculators out there that'll tell you how many you have to get to in order to get to a certain level or to a certain spell, for example.
My plan is very intricate and precise, and it's called winging it. And I do however many feel like the right amount and hope it's enough. The smart thing to do is to have an idea. Except, like you mentioned, there are calculators out there that will tell you how much XP you're going to get based on whether or not you're doing a slingshot and all that kind of thing. It's which is certainly very nice. And for top end racing, that is probably what you should be doing.
I know sometimes mine is limited to basically how many weeks I can pull off of Tella based on whether it's ethers or if it's Sykes that needs to refill his MP. Yeah, question in chat. 1 hour, 0 objectives. What's happened? Well, basically, 2 of our objectives have to do with the Baron key that we have yet to find. The 4th objective there, Complete Giant Babel, keddril looks like he's going to be completing when he gets through this grind fight. As for the Forging the Sword, it's another 2 items that have not shown their face yet, so bit of an issue.
Crim looks like he's in a little bit of a tough spot here with these Mad Ogres. Looks like he did not pick up coffins in Emlyn, or if he did, is trying to hang on to them and use the Runak Sid to get through these here. But the Mad Ogres being pretty large punch mages here and keeping the team on the ground.
Yeah, this can be a pretty nasty fight if you don't come in with certain items that can make this fight a whole lot easier. Normally, you have the Runax. That's a good start, but you also need to be able to maybe be a little lucky to make sure that Sid gets stays up long enough in order to use it. Now, I don't know if keddril did pick up any ethers, so he might just be relying on using Sight maybe to siphon off MP from his other mages on the party to keep. No, I'm sorry. He does have a stack of ethers.
Yeah,
must pick them up at some point. My mistake. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they were in Baron. Grabbed him right before he did his manipulation. Yeah,
that was very convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So if Crim's Palom can get this stop off, he should be good from here.
Yeah, looks like it was successful. So now Crim can breathe a little easier, get everyone back up, and get this much needed experience onto his character to get through the hook route.
Right. The stop doesn't last forever, of course. Its duration isn't all that long, but it is going to give him that breather here to be able to get everybody back up in the mode ring. keddril even managing to get a couple of double life glitches off here, which is really going to speed this up.
Yeah, it'll make this a lot faster. I do also like the fact that keddril removed the defense sword from Kane, so he's just punching the searcher in order to get the machines to show up, as well as I think Cecil is using the dwarf axe, which might make things work a little better in terms of the agility.
All right, Crim through those Mad Ogres. Hallam, unfortunately, still a little bit shy of Quake, which is going to potentially make this Rubicante fight a bit tough. You can, of course, time your Ice 2s to when the cloak is open, and you will do a ton of damage to him. But there is a little bit of risk involved in that, in terms of Hallam takes a punch at a bad time or a glare at a bad time that you could miss an entire cycle. But if Mordai is not on point, then he could still get through here relatively quickly.
He does get through these guards first, of course. Now, I believe he found Mute Bell, so he can use those to block the guards' magic attack, magic reactions, excuse me. But first he has to take a reset to sort of reformulate his agility, it looks like, because they do move very quickly.
Yeah, if he does have the coffins, this is what you buy them for. So
they were for sale in Evelyn. I do hope he did pick up a few. I think Inven, our wonderful restreamer here, has said he picked up 6. So that's why you have them for.
Yes, for sure. About an hour and 20 minutes in, a good time that if you're enjoying the race, to be sure to follow both of our runners. And a big thank you to our restreamer Invenerable and to our tracker working the buttons, Jazzman, today. Keddril is likes Mystic Quest, plays a ton of FF4FE, various randomizers. Crim, probably best well known for Zelda 1, one of the administrators and organizers for that event, and is another guy who plays a ton of variety of stuff at a very high level on his channel. So if any of that is interesting to any of you, be sure to follow either of these fine gentlemen.
Quick question in chat. Not all seeds kill Threemus or flags? Yes, that's correct. Depends on the flag set, what the end goal of the game is. In this tournament, it is to beat Threemus and beat the game. But sometimes it is just to complete a certain set of objectives, and as soon as that's done, you won the game, you go to the credits, and you stop your timer. But for this entire tournament, we're going to be beating Threemus at the end of every match. So here's a question for you, Zyrak. After Keddril completes this this grind, presumably going to go ahead and complete the bosses here on the Giant, what is your next play?
Man, what a good-looking question. You have a double check and tower that we still have sitting there. That would be tempting to do, I think, before I decided to go and clear out the entire moon. But if you're going underground, you might as well just take the Fey March spots while you're there, I would think. It's a tough call. You have a double key item check on the moon behind the ribbon room, and then you have Cave Bahamut, and you have the other single item check spots as well. Mathematically, it feels like just clearing Cave Bahamut and the subterranean out would be the right play.
It is tough. If you want to commit to either clearing out the underground or clearing out the moon, I want to say it's about even in terms of the chances you're going to find key items based on how it's weighted between the summon bosses and the vanilla key item locations. I mean, I would be tempted to go for the moon just because I think it's a bit more concentrated and you're going to have the levels, but I think either one could be the correct play. And obviously, it comes down to just finding the single item, the Baron Key, which is going to give you go mode.
Yeah. You could make the argument too that you want to go to the moon and get if there are fetch quests up there, you want to grab them and come back down as well. Although that's a pretty minor optimization in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I think overall, I think I would go for the moon in this spot following this up.
I mean, it really is maybe just a flip a coin at that point, because it is just the one item that you're trying to find. It's technically, no, you have to find the Baron Key. I'm sorry, it's what I've been saying this entire time.
Yeah.
You know, if you do find the Legend Sword and the Adamant, you know, it's great. That's one key item done. You can save a little bit of time without having to go down to the throne room.
All right, let's see how many levels this Cecil gains. Was that 56?
59, I think.
59?
That's a beefy boy right there. Rosa gets up to white. Brittany's up to nuke.
Yeah, this is, take a look at these 8. Oh, nice hourglass drops. Hey. That's his level 64, Cecil. That's a big boy.
Yeah, we're going to be able to roll through the rest of the sea given this party right now. It's just going to be a question then of what can we do to keep Cecil's agility good. We do have that Dwarf Axe, which does drop agility. So we can, like, if we go into the fight with that on, and then take it off and put the Excalibur back on, it'll still have all of its power, but will still be a potentially good enough anchor in order to be down to the RA2 level. Right. I'm not sure what his agility is at this point, because I think he rarely gets up to this level, so I can't say off my head.
Yeah. We do have a second Cecil sitting in the Kaipo bed, so, I mean, Tella's done his job, really, at this point.
True.
So you could just go grab that second Cecil, slap that cursed ring on him that you found, and call it a day.
That's probably the best way to go, rather than trying to do the manipulation with only the one Cecil. And as Ben points out in chat, I mean, once you get to a certain point, you can just say, you know, anchors be darned, I can just roll over you.
Right, yeah. Your anchoring is going to be a much bigger...
So, now that you have a really, 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 really fast Cecil, what are you going to do?
You're going to leave and grab the second Cecil and slap that cursed ring on. That's what you're doing.
Well, that solves that problem for us, doesn't it? Keddrill's going to try to warp out and find out that lovely little thing about warp is that it just takes you back to the last level you went to. So you go up and down and all around to get you out there, since you can't use access.
That is amazing.
That is impressive.
Thank you, Free Enterprise. Thank you. Thank you, Invin. Thank you for the Restreamer's Curse. Oh my goodness, that is wonderful.
So, okay, now you can go ahead and grab that second Cecil, anchor yourself, and get through that Wyvern. I guess that's still the play, rather than trying to find the Legend Sword, the Adamant, and just saying, I'm never touching that again. Right,
yeah. I mean, so we say that, but to be fair, we don't have the Baron Key. You still need to find it somewhere. So you could leave this for now, go out, and do all that other stuff, and if you don't come up with the Legend and Adamant first, then you can go through with this. That is certainly a way that you could go ahead and get through this.
No, it does look like Schedule is going to go right ahead and grab that second Cecil now, and yeah, and then make a good point in chat there that the magic power at that spot is not terrible. I mean, theoretically, you might be able to get through it with these levels, but it would take a little bit of luck, probably.
Right. Yeah. The speed would definitely be the issue. You'd have a whole ton of nukes coming at you. But of course, you have Iridia with the Bahamut. If you can get her up with a Star Veil, you can just have Wyvern nuke him, Mega nuke himself. Like, yes, you'd have options.
Yeah, that is a very good point. After all, according to Wyvern's battle script, if you use a summon against him, he will immediately counter with another Mega nuke. So if you've already got a wall up, that's a very easy way to just get him to kill himself very quickly.
All right, and so we have our slow soul to combat our fast soul, and we're gonna head up and we're gonna do the double tower check here.
In terms of difficulty, this is the easiest check currently on the board, so it makes a lot of sense to try to do both of them. If you get lucky to get the Baron Key here, great, that's go mode. If not, you probably don't waste too much time on what ends up being a sleepless errand.
Crim is fighting a battle of attrition of his own with this Rubicante here, getting those Ice 2 timings off, and yeah, he basically, that's really the only real form of offense he's got. He could be jumping with Kane as well, to be fair. But yeah, the Ice 2s are the main source of damage here, so he's basically just holding out and casting the Ice 2s during the cloak open parts of Rubicante's cycle here.
It is difficult, requires good timing, but definitely is possible. And the sparkle up here, we know it's not Wyvern, it's Pale Dim instead.
Cecil slapping that, what looks like vanilla palette Cecil down, keeping him at that agility. Great agility. Some really nice palettes in this seed. My favorite Rydia palette, the Terra inspired Rydia, one of my favorites.
That's really nice. Got a question in chat. Why do we need Cecil with such low agility? You want to take this one?
Sure. So agility is weird in this game. Is that good?
That's the TLDR version.
I mean, okay. If we're gonna get a little more technical than that. The way the agility system works in this game, in the vanilla game, which is the setting that this tournament is being run on, it ties everything's agility, your enemies and your other party members, to Cecil. So Cecil's speed affects the relative agility of everybody else around him. So when Cecil essentially is fast, then that makes everything else fast. So having a agility, basically a Cecil with one agility here, slows down the enemy bosses and speeds up your other party members relative to that low speed Cecil.
It is a very complex and difficult to understand mechanic that I personally don't understand 100% exactly. But having a slow person in the middle of your party with fast bosses make yourself faster as well. And free fight is free here in the cannon room.
And we will see when we exit the tower what key item we get out of that.
Picked up a second Avenger Sword at the top of the tower, so that was not anything that we're looking for, but it's a nice piece of equipment because now we can get Avengers on both Kane and Cecil.
Right, which is nice because we have not seen Bacchus Wine, so this leaves your Rosa free to do all of your healing. You can just set the two Berserkers up and forget it. And unfortunately, Crim did wind up taking a wipe, and it looks like he is going to try and get some grinding done on this Sorcerer Black Cat fight here. The Black Cats, as we saw with keddril, do have this insta-kill bluster counterattack, so this is a little bit tough to manage here, especially since if you're doing this, you're generally trying to do it on lower levels, so you're probably not one-shotting them a lot of the time.
It's a double sword tower today, with the Legend Sword being the gift after beating the cannon room.
So potential progression there, potential progression that allows you to skip that Wyvern if the other half of the Excal turn-in shows up.
Right. Normally we just say, oh hey, you've got all these levels, go ahead and take care of Giant, but with that Wyvern being a nice block on that progression, it is entirely possible you want to get this Legend Sword and Adamant combination forged.
And no one is, I don't believe anyone has taken a glimpse of these Fey March bosses yet, so we will get our first look at what we have down here.
Prim is going to take a second shot here at the Rubicante here, putting battle speed all the way up. That's usually a good idea to do if you're having a little issues with the bosses. Gives you a little extra time to do some menuing before the bosses act.
Yeah, this might give him enough time to have the Palom Bluff in between the Ice 2 casts here potentially as well. or maybe even get 2 Ice 2 shots off in a row on in the same cycle. So I'm sure that's what he's hoping for.
This is going to be a pretty free Dark Knight here. It's based off of your physical attack, the power, the wave attack here, and the Asura doesn't have too much of that at this spot. So yeah, we're gonna have no problems here.
Right. Radia is even going to get through it with a little bit of help from Rosa here. So yeah.
The other spot was held by a Baigen, which is an interesting possibility there.
Okay, so that fight is brutal. That fight is completely brutal. Baigen and Leviathan, when you're not rocking a level 60-something Cecil, is an exceedingly tough fight. He hits like a truck, and you can't even really fully cheese him with stuff like Moon Veils or a cover Cecil because he has that vampire move, which goes through all of that. So you have to be able to account for that as well. So it's a brutal fight if you don't come in here with insane levels like this.
It looks like the Dark Knight Cecil learned to do that wave attack with nothing but a spoon.
Yeah, unfortunately, no longer have Nettie. I mean, Crim still does. If Crim can manage to get to survive that Cecil fight, that would be a nice find for him.
And yeah, we've got 2 Avengers now, so we can get both of our frontline fighters berserk without any problems at all. But yeah, you see the kind of damage that Baigen's putting out there. If we didn't have such an overlevel party at this point, this would be a problem.
And yeah, Alt Gauntlet at Ogopogo guarding the Adamant of the Baron Keys sounds lovely.
That'll just be the icing on this already pretty nasty cake.
Yeah, so for anyone new to the scene coming in here and wondering why the disparity between the runners, unfortunately, CrimsonAvix around the 45-minute or so mark had an issue with his hardware and lost his save. So he's decided to try and push through it. He's going to keep going, but he is unfortunately trying to rush his way through. And part of doing that is that you wind up with a little bit lower on the resource count when you wind up doing stuff, and so is trying to get through this vanilla Rubicante with very little other than this Ice 2 column to which to do so.
So I think we found our 3rd protector ring of the seed here, being held by that Baigen's Fey March. Hashtag never Fey March pays off again.
Fey March never has value except when it does, right? It's the
way it always works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I think our key item spots on the ground are basically come to naught. So yeah, I think we're going to the moon next.
Absolutely, up and away. D-Mist is accounted for, so we're not going to get one of those weird, D-Mist at sealed cave kind of things. So yeah, just gonna take off and Keddril gonna poke his head into Cave Bahamut here first.
Now the thing I've got to be thinking, if I'm putting myself in Keddril's place, is that I am now an hour and 4. I have 0 out of the 4 objectives completed. Presumably, I don't know that Threemus had the issues that he's had, so I gotta feel that I might be behind. I might start taking some risks because I might have guessed wrong.
You're an hour 40 in and you don't have a single. Oh my god! There's no way you don't feel like you're miles behind, right? Like you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have easily thought that, okay, my opponent might have been keeping up with me, has chosen to go to the moon instead of going underground and completing all the stuff there first. If he did that, I am potentially way behind. This
is another rough fight if you're not over-leveled here either. Keinatsu at Bahamut. This is a spot with enough speed and enough health that Keinatsu is a little bit dangerous here, but again, not at these levels.
I do know Keddril did take a quick peek over who the boss was here and kept the Avengers on both sides. So immediately went to Berserk strats here.
So Crim's getting some jumps off with Kane. We're seeing the viruses coming out here during the close cloaks. Party seems to be in a much healthier overall condition here. So it looks like that that increase to the battle speed has helped out. And in fact, there's the crumble right there. So good job, Crim, powering through that. Gonna get through it and gonna be able to check out the underground.
And keddril cares not for your wave attacks, goes right to the white and gets a pan out of the Kenatsu. How do you feel about fetch quests?
I mean, I'm save scumming this if this is me. We'll see.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Agrees with me. Yeah.
I might be differently opinionated if I was down on like in the lower levels of the moon fighting the bosses there, but given that I'm already on the ground here, having got to Cave Bahamut, I am going straight to turn that in, see what happens, and if it doesn't pay off, I'm going right back to the moon.
And yep, there he goes with the save scum save right before heading back down to Earth. Gonna check out what Sheila 2 and the Sylphs have got for us. And yeah, I agree with Vitasia. This is you do Cave Bahamut first, thinking probably that your opponent has just drove straight down to the ribbon room. So you find the pan, you're like, I am checking what this is doing. I completely agree with that line of thinking.
Absolutely. I mean, again, you're so far to the seed. You are beyond, I think, the average finishing time of a seed has been in this tournament. It's been tough, but still, you gotta feel that you are currently losing in this situation. So yeah, you take all these sort of maybe lower percentage checks to try to find the Baron Key before your opponent could eventually.
Yeah. Especially considering what happened with the Wyvern check, right? Because taking the Cecil and Zod is probably a non-standard play, right? So you take that Cecil, you go and you do that huge slingshot to get him up. Then you find, oh my god, I have the one boss that punishes me for doing that is who's guarding the objective in the giant. So you're probably in your head, you're probably scrambling at that point.
That's absolutely correct. If you thought your opponent had a better agility position than you had right now, and could have gone through that Wyvern without that much any problems, then absolutely you are really worried.
So do you check the pigtail to see if it's a crystal? No, I'm just joking. No, yeah.
Well, if you find the rat tail as well, you might as well. Also want to point out, keddril now has 10 key items, so it's getting double experience.
Oh my gosh, double experience. Time to grind. Oh, well.
This, I think you have to try. You have to check it.
That's not an immediate reset. He's walking out.
I mean,
get that music.
I think you gotta follow whatever this chain gives you before you go back to the moon. And it does look like we're going to be getting music.
Here we go. Keddril, hero of the people, going to give us the music we all want.
Okay, this would be a really nasty Baron Key chain if it does end up being the Baron Key right here. Crim is going in the Fame Arch. Also takes a look at the bosses down here. It might be a little more difficult for him to get through that Dark Knight Cecil boss there, since his levels are a lot lower than keddril's were.
Right.
So it looks like he's snoping out at this point. But if he does get those levels back up, he'll definitely be down here to try that out, because that is definitely doable once you have the going for it.
If the Cid was over 1500 or so HP, it might be worth taking a shot. If he could survive 2 dark waves and get like a Cure 3 or something on himself before the 3rd one, you might have a shot. But without that, I don't think that's feasible. And that Baigan is just a complete non-starter.
Oh, you need to be at the levels of keddril's at in order to take that on. There's no way to cheese that boss. So keddril, having Rosa doing the sacrifice of using a coffin on herself to get through this, get to this cutscene, We're going to give our voices a break for a moment and let DJ Spoony B play us a couple tunes. And due to the strains of Chrono Trigger, Bahamut poses no problem to keddril.
Yeah. I like the swag warp to give us a few extra seconds of the music.
There's that rat tail. This chain keeps going on.
All right, now we will get to see what that pink tail is, most likely.
Meanwhile, I want to give a shout out to Crimson, who did go to the job dwarf, and found out that today he was a phys ed teacher, physical education instructor.
Nice. Not one I've seen yet. New job for me from our good buddy, the job dwarf.
What kind of exercises do you think a dwarf does?
Oh, what kind of exercises does a dwarf do? Interesting. I don't know for sure, but I feel like a dwarf never skips leg day.
Unsurprisingly, keddril is going to follow this chain of logic as far as it goes. And we're heading over to Advent Cave to see what this rat tail is.
Dwarves are natural sprinters. I like that. I like that as an answer.
Big Tail was yet another Avenger. We're running out of people to wield them.
Yeah, no ninjas to throw them either. And
womp womp.
Oh, wow. And there, yeah, there's that reset. Oh my goodness.
That was mean, but at least we got some music out of it.
So if you weren't panicking and feeling like you were miles behind before, now you're literally wondering, why has my opponent not hit finished yet, is where you're at, keddril's head.
Absolutely. At this point in the race, I would be like, okay, I've lost. I made the wrong choice somewhere along the line here. And it does mean it opens up the chances for Crim, who did not take a Cecil.
Right.
Who has not done all these checks, to potentially pull this thing out.
Yeah, so for Crim, you're getting the big whale here. Did Crim grab a hold of the Tella?
I don't think he did the Dwarf Castle.
He has not, right? Yeah.
I don't think so. So, yeah, thank you, chat, for keeping us informed. Yeah, no Dwarf Castle, no Tella. And there are no sirens available in the seed, unfortunately. And there's no edge to seal sirens, so grind options are not very good. It looks like he's going to check probably just check the shop, check the character here, and maybe that will solve his problems, but unfortunately they won't.
We'll get him hourglasses out of the shop here, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But being able to get into Dwarf and get himself that Tella would hopefully push him to just get the D machines done. And if he's able to get through the Wyvern, that might give him a fighting chance.
Could potentially come even after the hardware failure the Crim had. It can still come down to a very interesting finish here. Keddril is going top down on the moon. I do not blame him when he's looking for just one key item. Gets the pass out of the first altar here, which does mean that once you do find the Baron key, you never have to come back to the moon.
Yep, right. You're definitely going back down to Earth at this point. So yeah, the pass actually is kind of a nice find.
And yeah, Crim finding another Sid here. It's the Sid and Cecil's show when it comes to characters.
Still have not seen that Fabul Gauntlet. Dream is still alive.
That would be just, like I said, that would just be the nastiest little surprise, the nasty twist in the tail.
Why is Ked keeping the second Cecil dead? It is for agility manipulation. We did discuss that a little while ago, so I won't go in depth into it again. But basically, the TLDR is under these flag settings, the game ties everything's agility to Cecil. So having that Cecil in the first party position in the center there and have him being low leveled is going to slow down the enemies and increase your party speed relative to them.
Crimson making a very interesting play here, going into the Lunar Subterrane, probably hoping to find a free boss here that would give him some experience, and maybe the Baron key.
Maybe. I would imagine this has more to do with the fact that I don't think his Palom is at level 30 yet, and so wants to make sure that before he does Dwarf, he's able to get himself a hold of that. And this seems like a trying to get two birds with one stone kind of thing. Potentially get yourself a free boss and get your Palom where he needs to be.
We do have the Albans fight here in the Ribbon Room, blocking the two key items here. To respond to chat, we have seen Threemus. Threemus was on Ordeals, and it unfortunately only had, I believe, an Adventure Sword.
And we didn't get to see a whole lot of Leviathan at the spot on Keddril's side, but this is actually maybe not necessarily free, but this is a very, very doable fight at this location. It's overall magic damage is not that high, and it doesn't physical you at all. So it is actually somewhat doable there. But Crim deciding more than likely that even if it's doable, that it's just going to be too slow for him to get through it, and so has decided to opt out and head back down.
And what did you know? There's the Baron key, and it's also the Adamant. So we can say goodbye to that Wyvern at Babel.
That's all right. He still got us our laughs, got us our yucks, so that's okay. But Keddril has hit go mode here, and will likely be taking out the Odin spot here in order to be able to complete the last of his objectives that he doesn't essentially already have finished.
You literally could not pick two items that you would more want to find there, because that solves all of your problems. It also means that we're going to be able to check the Copal shop once we do turn in the Adamant. Not sure what you necessarily want to find here, but there's always something good here.
Yeah, you potentially could come off with a couple of small upgrades, like stuff like Zeus gauntlets or a better staff for Rosa or something like that. But yeah, there's not going to be a whole lot here that's really going to be super interesting.
And I've got to say, I can't remember the last time I watched a race where the objective number 1, Forge the Sword, was the first thing lit up. Especially at an hour 55 in.
Right, yeah. I have to admit, I think that's a first for me as well.
Normally that's one of the hardest objectives in the game, so to see that come in first is really interesting. And yes, as Keddril heads on over to the Baron Key, I want to give one more shout out to our team working very hard behind the scenes. You have Invenerable rolling this absolute beaut of a seed and doing the restreaming. And We got Jasmine here, finally getting to be able to push one of those buttons to get the objective lit up.
And yeah, I think the only thing that was in the shop that was of note were crystal rings, and keddril did hover over them, but I think he decided that the time buying them and equipping them wasn't worth it. Just left. So
they're a nice piece of equipment, but right now it would be definitely a case of gilding the lily. You've got so much power.
Yeah.
And yeah, unlocking the sewer was objective number 2. That's done. Well, we got the you can go right to the basement throne after being this the first spot, the Bygin spot. It's been so long, I don't remember what it was.
I think it's Yang, which thankfully we have a Cecil, so we can cheese the fight, right? I mean, so you know.
If he even guessed that point, I think at this point he's just going to. Keddril's just going to look at him. He's just going to fade away. Yeah, normally you'd be able to do the scripted end of this fight, which is after Yang queues up his second kick. If a Paladin Cecil hits him, it's over. But as you can see, 2 hits, you can also kill him that way.
Yeah.
And as you might expect, keddril not interested one bit in seeing who's on the throne of Baron today. He's going to go right to the basement and get his crystal after this last fight. And yes, I 100% agree with you in chat. CrimsonAvix, after having that very, very unfortunate hardware issue at 45 minutes and causing him to lose a save, doing an amazing job to get back to where he is in the next hour. All props to him for sticking out with it, because it would have been very easy just to become so disheartened after that.
Yep,
he's done a great job.
Completely agree. And we got a nice free fight here. Even doing a hand. Sorry, I think that's still already down. But still, the coffins are gonna make very short work of this.
We have 3 coffins left from our purchase in Evelyn. We got 3 Dark Imps. That works out pretty well. We also have an Excalibur, so our Adventure Sword, so we can do that as well.
All options are on the table here at the end. But yeah, Dark Imps go down. Oh, nice.
That's where the bag of key was.
Good place for it.
And there we are with about 1 hour, 59 minutes. Keddril has his crystal.
And is Keddril going to walk out, or is he going to take out who is on the throne? Is slightly faster to walk out if you walk out perfectly. I actually had to do this at some point, and I was bullied mercilessly for not walking perfectly. So looks like Keddril is going to see if he can best me.
So yeah, he'll be walking out, and since he found that pass on the moon from doing going top down on the moon, he'll just be able to go straight over to Troya and go to the pub and go straight to the Z fight.
Keddril warping back to the waterway. So yeah, not perfect. So.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, this is something you normally don't do. You don't normally walk this place backwards. So it is hard to do to do the reverse muscle memory to go through this place backwards.
No, all to put all the cards on the table. Keddril and I are good friends. I'm making fun of him because he knows I don't mean it. But you're 100%. You're 100% right. You almost never have to do this, which is why people do it imperfectly, right? So
it's amazing how if you play it enough, you get certain paths just in muscle memory. And so when you have to do them backwards, like for example, if you go down to the bottom of the lunar subterrane, and you don't have exit, you got to walk back up.
Yep.
I mean that also messes with my brain whenever I have to do that.
Yeah, all the places you don't ever really walk out of. Like the one time you have to do Twin Harp with no access to exit, and you have to walk yourself back out. It's a mess.
But of course, 2 hours in, finally, we are going to go use pass after doing these last little bit of equipment, and at this time, because we've randomized everything else except for the location of Threemus, we decided to have a little fun with Threemus instead, and randomize his sprite amongst, I think, about over 450 different options we have right now. And as a result, there's a question that we'd like to ask at this point. Grace, would you like to do the honors?
Sure. So, chat, whose butt do we get to kick tonight? I'm always on board with my fellow geographically close FFE admin, Natara. I'm on Team Ultros. We'll see what we get.
Meanwhile, we wait to see who Threemus really is tonight. Crim is through the luggage fight over here on Tower of Zot, opting to do this fight here and maybe get some characters replace that Eddie that he's been carrying around.
Big thank yous to all the people resubscribing and sending out the gift scubs, by the way, in bits. Much appreciated. Helps keep the channel going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your support. And we have a Cacklemus
from the Mario and Luigi series. Excellent set of games. If you have not played them,
it is on my very long list of games to catch up on. And we do see keddril throwing out that crystal, using it a second time to nerf that first incoming Big Bang. And lucks out by having Cacklemus choose to nuke the already anchored Cecil.
Perfect. Got your Avengers going. That Cecil is going to hit like a truck, and that Kane is not going to hit for a whole lot less most of the time. And looks like we are going to throw some whites and nukes out as well.
I mean, given the power that this party has, I would be shocked if we see a second Big Bang. We'll probably wind up going straight to media, if that. And yes, and Prim gets the bad news of having that gold as in the second spot there of Tower of Zot. It's a relatively nasty spot for him to be.
Yeah. Does have, so he's going to have his 50-50 set up here. He does have the Kane as one of the people up, so that's his best shot at a potentially like run buffering a Starveil off here. Board AI on point though.
Yes, looks like Board AI has gotten Crim's number this time. I hope to get a safety save before taking on this fight. To answer a question in chat, are reflected spells 100% hit? I believe they are 100% guaranteed to hit. I can't think of a situation where they wouldn't, at least in terms of the Z fight. I can think of maybe if Valval's in a place with high magic defense, that won't hit. But otherwise, in this case, it will always hit.
If you're at the levels where you're throwing nuke around, it's not going to miss.
Right.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, we got Rosa throwing out reflected whites for quad 9s. We've got Cecil swinging for 5,000. This fight is going to be over very quickly.
There's the second shake, but there's the crack boom. Don't even get to see the rocks.
GG to keddril. We get the official time here, but this was a heck of a seed. 2 hours, 5 minutes, 58 seconds. well done to keddril for working out what wound up being a very, very nasty seed. We'll see if we can get him in here for an interview shortly.
And there he is. Congratulations.
GG.
keddril.
Thank you. That was weird.
So, before we ask you any questions, we're going to give you the floor for a few minutes here to say exactly what you're thinking about Invent who rolled this seed.
Well, the last seed that Invenerable rolled for me was 55 minutes, so I was sort of hoping for something like that, but it was well past that mark before I could even find anything to do. So it was good. It was good.
So the big thing I want to ask you about keddril is why did you try to hit Plague with Quake?
Because every single time I have Quake, I forget that it doesn't do anything to Plague. And I rolled it, and I was like, you know what? That's not going to do anything. I was like, maybe it'll do 1. That'd make me happy. But total whiff on that, so.
Right. Okay. In all seriousness, couple of things I wanted to ask you about. The play into Zot, you had the giant available to you at that point, and you wound up going to it very shortly after. What was your thinking in doing the Tower of Zot play at the time?
It was more of, I don't know what else is coming up in this seed, and I think I'd rather have melee characters instead of mages. So I went in there, and there was a Cecil there, and then a Sid, which I didn't want. I don't like Sid. So then I grabbed that Cecil, and then I knew that I had another Cecil in the bed in Kaipo, so I was happy with that, because I had dropped a few Cecils already. And I had all those Excals, and I had an Avenger and a couple of Defense Swords. So that was mainly my reason to go to Zot first, was I wanted to see if I could find maybe another Kane or an Edge or a Cecil, and it just happened that the Cecil was there. And then after that, I said, okay, I got 4 of the 5 party members that I want, so I just went and did the D machines. Then was like, you know what? I'll just try to do the giant objective. And then there was a Wyvern there, and I didn't have my Anchor Cecil, so that didn't really work out.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was how distressing was that when that came up?
If I didn't have, like, if I had taken Cecil and Kaipo at the beginning, very distressing. But since I knew I had a Cecil there and I had an Anchor, that's why I never went back, because half of the objectives required the Baron Key, so I already knew that one was available. So I said, oh, I'm just going to try and find Baron Key first, and then once I do those 2 objectives, then I'll just go back and do Wyvern with my level 1 Cecil, and I had a Cursed Ring as well if I needed to drop him even lower. But it just so happened that Baron and Adamant were in the exact same spot, so that was a bonus.
Right.
So after that seed being so nasty and unlucky, I'm sure it was very nice to see the 2 perfect items in the ribbon room for you.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, usually when I route the moon, I skip Bahamut and Pale Dim spot, and I just go straight for the D-Lunar spot. But this time I was like, no. It's never the D-Lunar spot for me. I'll definitely do Bahamut and Pale Dim first. Didn't work out. Well, actually, Bahamut sent me on that humongous chain to nothing.
Yeah, that was extremely unfortunate. Were you worried about the fact that you had gotten to an hour 40, hour 45, and you hadn't got any objectives on the board yet?
Yeah, like, my hope was that Crim hated the moon as much as I did, so they just decided to do everything on the Earth first. And then after the big chain, like, so I got the Pan and Bahamut, and then I said, oh, you know, I'll do the big brain play of saving and then going down and checking those, and then it gave me Twin Harp, and I was like, oh, well, now I'm obligated to do that, so I went and did that, and then that gave me Rat Tail or something, and it all led to nothing, so then I reset. out of spite.
Well, you stuck to it, got yourself a win, and probably just about the freest Z fight you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, it was pretty free. It was pretty free. Those double Avengers were pretty swanky. So,
well, GG's, keddril. Well played, and good luck next week in your chance to advance.
thank you.
Thanks
Everyone for commentating and tracking and hosting. Thanks.
And after seeing the dot done, Crimson has decided to forfeit. And once again, I just want to throw out and say, this amazing job on his part to keep it up and keep fighting to the very end. I do believe we're going to be brought in here. Yes, we have Crim available for a interview. GG's and commiserations.
Thanks. Honestly, the most frustrating part about that, well, first of all, that was the longest 80 minutes of my life waiting for Keddril to finish. But honestly, the most frustrating part is right when it happened, I looked at my timer, saw 45 minutes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, with where I was and with how the seed was going, this is going to be, like, horrible for the restream, because in my mindset, like, I don't care if I win or lose these races, but if I'm being restreamed, I want it to be entertaining. And when something like that happens and I'm all of a sudden 45 minutes behind, I feel really bad for the restream and you guys' commentary, just for having to, fill in all the gaps then of me redoing everything for the next, 30, 40 minutes.
Oh no, it was no problem for us. We all felt really bad because you had no control over that. And again, you did a great job of continuing to fight on what turned out to be a really nasty seed. On the other hand, you did, having to start from the beginning, you did sort of have an idea of what everything was located on the overworld. Were you interested in maybe trying to see how fast you could get through that overworld, get back to the point where you were?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, the only thing that I didn't get to do on the overworld was check Threemus. I was going to I wanted to first see what was in the Evelyn cave and everything, but I was going to go back and check Threemus before I ended up going to Babel. But obviously, when I went to reset out of Evelyn cave, that's when I lost everything. So I decided just to check Threemus before going back down. But it really wasn't concerning. I kind of knew what order I had to do things in, which allowed me to know like what to anticipate rather than reacting very, very horribly like I was at the beginning of the seed to a lot of the situations. But once I got underground and got everywhere, and I noticed there weren't any sirens and there wasn't any Tella, and there was like 20,000 Cecils, I pretty much knew which way the seed was going anyway, and that's when I really got worried, because I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna probably be waiting a bit, and I want to try to catch up. So honestly, there was two things. I was looking for maybe a Hail Mary play where I found the Baron Key and was able to catch up really quick, or I was hoping for Twin Harp so I could just go play the music for everyone.
Given the fact that Keddril didn't find the Baron Key until an hour 5:50, I think it was at that point. If you did find that early Baron Key in a place where Keddril didn't look, you were totally back into it. So it was absolutely a well-played strategy on your part.
Yeah, didn't work out, but as I said, that's part of the game. I probably should invest a little more time on practicing for these things as well. Just because I forget some of the strats when I don't play for a couple months and everything. And then, of course, once the whole thing happened, I was a little frustrated, and I do stupid stuff like not paying attention to what I'm doing in the menu and turning on encounters instead of turning back my my battle speed, and wiping and having to fight Rubicante twice because everyone loves to see that vanilla fight.
You handled it pretty well once you got your second attempt in there, though. Like, probably a little bit slower than you would have liked, but it was definitely clean, the second one, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the first one was just frustrating because Ruby kept on glaring Rosa, and I was limited on my lives. But as I said, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things I would have done differently, but ultimately, for what happened and everything, it is what it is. It just tells me that before my match next week, I need to go clean some pins and maybe look at them to make sure that the cart seats correctly in there.
Once again, I think you made a lot of fans in the chat here because they're all impressed by your perseverance and how you kept going on while faced with overwhelming odds. So, thanks for a great race here, and best of luck next week.
Thank you guys, and thank you for doing commentary and entertaining the chat while I got to play catch up.
No problem, dude. You like I said, you were actually making up some ground there for part of it. If you do decide to watch the race back, you should be able to see that. Since I know you're a Z1 guy, the seed put the bow behind like the bomb wall in Second Quest 8 for you, like the so yeah. So you should be proud of how you played. GG's.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, all right, thanks again, guys. Take care.
No problem. Thank you.
See ya.
So, Zyrak, that was a really interesting seed, and shows you could never tell what's going to happen when you sit down to a race of Free Enterprise.
Yeah, no, that was really good. We got to see the early part of the seed was a little bit rough. We got to see some good play from both runners and how to deal with it with limited resources, and then we saw how powerful the getting your levels, getting your whether it's D machines or early sirens or whatever the tool is available to you. We got to see how that power, getting that power online, gets you to push through the seed. It's a very instructive race of FE, I thought.
Absolutely, and keddril still has a chance of qualifying for the tables phase with another win next week. Next week will be that deciding week. Anyone with a 2-1 or 3-0 record gets to qualify for those play-in races. And so we wish best of luck to any other runners out there who still have races to run. And we are going to be sending you off, looks like, to the PK4787. I think just started a Free Enterprise race.
Perfect. Yeah. If you want to pick up the randomizer, do some casual racing on your own. There are pickup races going on in the Free Enterprise Discord all the time. You can hit ! Discord, I think, if you're interested. But yeah, everyone head out and give PK some love, regrettably, by Invent's quote.
Yes, one last shout out again to Invenerable, who did the restream, and to Jasmine, who did the tracking tonight. Great job behind the scenes, and catch you later. No, that's fine.